Hello, America and the world. Welcome to another program of Life After Lockup. This is a program that is designed to show the public another side of the incarceration system, of the prison system, of the criminal justice system. As I have forestated in some other programs, there are over 2 million people that are incarcerated in prisons in America today, and about 2/3 of those that get out end up coming back. This program basically is about the 1/3, the forgotten third, those that have gone through the nightmare and the horror of prison life or jail life or whatever that has caused them some issues and have made successes from those mistakes that they've made. These are stories that you don't really hardly hear about. These are the ones that don't make the headlines, that don't make the newspaper, that don't end up going back, that actually end up being successful and making a better life for themselves and being an asset to society. That's what this Life After Lockup program is all about. I also want to remind those that are in the community of Paducah, Kentucky, of the things that Life Community is doing in the community. Every first Monday, we have an ex-offender support group that meets at 5:30 at the W.C. Young Community Center. That's every first Monday at 5:30. This is for inmates, ex-offenders to come to talk about your struggles or what you might be going through. We try to give you helpful information about staying out, trying to keep you out, to help you to get jobs and things of that nature, to try to support you in your endeavor for freedom. Every second and fourth Monday, we have what we call Teen Ease. Is a program for teenagers from 13 to 19. We meet at the community kitchen right across from Allen Auto. That's every second and fourth Monday from 5 to 8. Food, fun, and fellowship. We always have a special guest to kind of come in and help to navigate the children to a direction that they should be in and not out on the streets and things of that nature. Also, every Tuesday, we have what we call a Lifesaver class that meets at Christ Temple Church, 523 North 12th Street, every Tuesday. It's an 8-week course, 11:30 to 12:30. Just try to help you with any life controlling issues. We try to help you to get past those things. After 8 weeks, you get a certificate of completion that helps you with food stamps, helps you with a place to stay and things of that nature. So these are the things that Life Community is doing in Paducah, Kentucky. So if you need any information about these things, you can call 270-575-3823 or lifecommunities@bellsouth.net is our email. And today I'm excited, as always. I always enjoy our guests, and I have a special guest today. Her name is Kristina Johnson. And Kristina, hey.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm great. Glad to have you today. And you kind of see what we're doing in the community and things of that nature. So you understand basically what this show is all about. And you are our guest today. Most people that know, if you're here, you either work in the system, because I've had lawyers and I've had Crossroads person here. So I've had different people in the criminal justice system that have come to sit in that seat to talk about some things that's going on. But for the most part, our interview is with people that have come through the system some kind of way and are now basically being successful. And you have a success story, and that I definitely want people to hear about, because it's people like you that the public don't get to hear about. They only hear about those that go in and out and do things and that are menace to society and that never get any better. Your story is completely different. So I kind of want you to kind of maybe share with us as much as you would like what basically ended you up in court, what basically ended you up in jail, or why are you even sitting here today as a successful person?
Okay, I was a drug dealer, drug user. I ended up catching a charge. The police coming to my house, knocking on the door, which I had been smoking marijuana, and they searched the apartment. I ended up going to jail with my current boyfriend at the time, and that led me in the court system.
Okay.
I went to jail for a little while. I got out with pre-trial, which they monitored me while I was out going to court. And I ended up being entered into drug court, which was a blessing. And that's how my process began with drug court. In drug court, you had to receive counseling for different issues, which most likely there's underlying issues, the
Right.
reason why you use the drugs.
Okay. When you say drugs, what particular drug were you basically, were you addicted? Would you say you were addicted?
Yes, I would say I was addicted.
Okay. What particular drug were you addicted to? Was it marijuana or crack or?
Marijuana.
Marijuana.
I had tried ecstasy.
Oh, okay.
So those were the main two
Okay.
I can
Okay.
say at that time.
Okay. Now, when you went to court, because I kind of want people to really understand, were you given a sentence as opposed to going to drug court, or if you didn't go to drug court, would you have done a certain amount of time?
Yes, they offered me 6.5 to 7 years
Oh,
if
okay.
I did not take drug court.
Okay, was this your first offense?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I had
wow.
been in no trouble, but they couldn't guarantee probation. They couldn't guarantee anything other than taking the 6.5 to 7 years.
Wait a minute. This was your first offense. You hadn't been in any trouble at all, even as a juvenile?
Yes.
No trouble at all.
No trouble at all.
So this was your first offense, and was it trafficking or was it possession? What was the charge?
It was possession. It was possession.
Okay, so your first offense, and it was either 6.5 years or drug court.
Yes.
Wow.
Basically, like I had the possession charge, but there was a gun in the house at the
okay.
time.
Okay.
The guy I was dating at the time, he had a gun on him when they came in the house.
Okay.
So that enhanced the possession charge.
Wow. Your
So-
possession charge. It enhanced yours because
Yes.
he had a gun?
Yes, they charged us both with everything that was in the house.
Wow.
Because they wanted me to give information about him.
Okay.
And because I didn't, then I was charged with everything he was charged with that was found in my house.
Wow. And because you're bringing up some things here that I think people that are maybe outside need to really understand. A lot of times the police or the detectives, the drug enforcement people don't particularly want people like you. They want like the guy you was dating. So because you don't turn over on him, they basically threaten you with everything that they want to give him. Is that
Yes,
basically the case?
yes, and they did.
Wow.
They did. They also charged me with wanton endangerment because my children was in the house, which I went through a process with social services because of it, and it was a big ordeal.
Wow. And with all of that, it seems like it really should have, I guess, caused a lot of depression, a lot of ill feelings with in you because of what you basically, I guess, allowed yourself to go through in a sense.
Yes, and it did.
Wow.
It did.
So now, so with drug court, you decided to take drug court, and is it something that you have to do every day, or how does that work?
Oh yes, every day. Once you get entered into drug court, there's 4 different phases, which is phase 1, phase 2, 3, and aftercare.
Okay.
So entering phase 1, you have to go to court every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. You have to test up to 3 to 4 times a week. You have to do 4 NA meetings. You have to do a meeting at the drug court office with the staff. You have to do 2 groups at 4 Rivers with the staff down there.
Wow.
It was a big process. There was a lot of things you had to do, although once you moved up in phases, there was less that you had to do. But they still pretty much kept you busy, I guess, for the reason of not having that extra time on your hands.
Right,
You
right.
also have to be productive, like keep a job, full-time job. As a student, you have to stay very productive in the program.
Okay, now, once you get arrested for something like that, did you end up losing everything that you had, or did you have to like
Yes.
start from?
Yes.
Wow.
I lost, when I got out of jail, I was already basically evicted from the apartment I was in.
Wow.
So I'm originally from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, so I had to pack everything up along with my kids and move back to Missouri. In the process, I still had to come back and forth and go to court, which when I ended up taking drug court, again, that uprooted me from being back home. I had to come back and move to McCracken County in order to attend drug court.
Wow.
So, and that is where everything, basically, the process started.
Wow. So now, with moving, with having a drug case, how difficult was it for you to get a job and a place to stay? I mean, because a lot of the housing places around here won't let you stay if you got a drug charge.
No, I had, while I was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, waiting to go back and forth to court and for it all to be over, I had 2 jobs. I worked a night job and worked a day job because I figured that I would have to come back. So I saved my money to be able to come back and pay my bills ahead of time, which is what I was able to do. I paid my rent for 3 months, my utilities and everything up for 3 months. But after that 3 months, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I figured that maybe I could find a job in McCracken County before my 3 months would be up, which did not happen. Because of my charges, it was hard to get a job. But with the counseling at Four Rivers, they had a program which they entered me in. And that kind of helped me get totally on my feet until I found a job and was able to work.
Wow, okay, so all of the drug court things, would you say they kind of had things that was set up for you to help you maybe in certain areas where if it had not been for drug court and they just let you go on probation or whatever, that it might would have been more difficult, do you think? If they had not given you drug court, if they had given you probation or something like that with the charge, do you think it would have been difficult for you to make it had it not been for drug court?
No, I would say it was easier to make it with the program through Four Rivers.
Okay, through Four Rivers.
Drug court gave us structure. It gave us probably some things that many of us don't have, the positive outlook on life, having to participate in different things, going to the meetings. You know, when you go to the meetings, there's always something you can take away from the meetings.
Very good.
The counseling was a huge thing for me because I had a lot of underlying issues that I didn't even know at the time I had. But through the counseling and the therapist that I had, she helped me work on a lot of things. And she began my growth, I believe.
Okay, good.
And if it wasn't for drug court, I wouldn't never have got that, you know. But they did give me the structure that I needed to focus. I've always had goals. I've always wanted to go to school. I've always wanted to do something with myself. But being raised, I wasn't given a lot of that. You know, there wasn't a lot of that seen within our family. So I really didn't have the knowledge to know how to pursue it or how to go for them goals. So drug court definitely gave me the structure to be able to pursue my goals.
And that is so interesting because, okay, you saying even like with the family structure and things of that nature, when did you kind of get in the streets in a sense? I mean, has that been something that basically you have been doing basically all your life, or that's kind of something that you kind of grew up doing?
Since I was 15 years old.
Wow. So you've been kind of basically making it on your own in a sense, making your own decisions and just doing what you wanted to do in a sense since 15.
Yes, I was. I got my first apartment at 15 years old. Yeah, and I had a child at that time. And since that moment, I had been out on my own. I always kept a full-time job. Even at 15, I had a fake ID in order to work. And I worked and I worked, and I ended up getting with a guy at 16 that was in the streets, and there was a drug dealer. He was pretty big in the town, and that's how I got introduced to the lifestyle. And since then, I just kind of picked it up, and it was everything
for you. And it's interesting because what you were saying, and I tell people even in our lifesaver class that normally either people that drink alcohol or that do drugs, they're usually trying to cover up something, or there's some underlying issue that they're trying to numb in a sense. And would you basically say that's what, in a sense, what you were doing basically when you was getting high or whatever, basically trying to numb some pain and stuff like that you had endured? And most women are like that. And I think this is why this is so important for you to be on this program, because I know there are a lot of women that were trapped in the same areas that you were trapped in before you got arrested. Because if you had not got arrested, then who knows how long you would have stayed in the trap, who knows where you would have gone, how big of a dealer you would have been, and how much you would have used, and who knows where your life would have ended. So in all actuality, getting arrested that day probably saved your life in a sense.
It did. It did.
Unfortunately,
honestly.
you know.
Yeah, honestly, it really did. It really did save my life. I mean, like I said, I went through depression stages even after coming back to McCracken County and going through drug court. I believe when I first was introduced to you, I was in a huge depression stage because of, you know, I relied on the marijuana to keep me relaxed, not to let, you know, the thoughts and the things that, my underlying issues, I didn't want to have to deal with them. But at the same time, I really didn't know that they affected my life and the way they
Wow.
affected my life.
Isn't that something?
Until I got the counseling through Four Rivers because of drug court.
Wow.
So it definitely saved my life.
Wow.
And I wouldn't be sitting here today if I hadn't went to jail. I wouldn't, have graduated from college. I wouldn't have done any of those things if I had not went to jail.
So since drug court, you've graduated from college with a degree in what?
A bachelor's in psychology and counseling.
Wow, girl, you go. That is so good. That is so good. With a bachelor's in psychology and counseling.
Yes.
That is awesome. And you going back to
get my master's in human services, and I start in July.
Wow. See, this is what I'm talking about. These are stories here that the criminal justice system they don't promote enough of. People like you. Yes, you had some issues. You've had a past. You've gone to jail. You've been in court. And I was in court with somebody the day that you came to court to get something from Judge Hollowell. Some signed something.
Yeah,
what was that?
It was expungement.
Okay.
Yes.
So he was able to expunge. You were able to expunge your record?
Yes, yes. Which after I finished drug court, the felonies that I had on my record pending while I was in drug court, they were expunged 3 months after I finished drug court.
Wow.
But I had another just minor issue on my record that prevented me from going to work with sexually abused kids.
Oh, okay.
So I went back into the court and asked to get that expunged because it actually had been dismissed, but it was still on my record. And as long as it showed on my record, you can't work for any nonprofit organization.
Wow.
So I had to go in and ask him to expunge that, which, you were there. He granted
Yes.
it quickly.
I mean, it was so interesting because he, I saw something in Judge Hollowell that I don't normally see. It seemed like humanity. I don't mean it harm, but it's like, when he saw you, it's like his eyes lit up and you look good. And he was so proud of you. I could see that in him, that he was so proud of you and was happy to give you that. So because he knew that you were moving on with your life. Yes. This to me is what court should be all about, what the whole criminal justice system should be all about, giving people opportunities to make better, to make amends to what they've done, to say, okay, I've got some issues here. Help me deal with my issues so that I can move on with my life, especially when it comes to women. Now, I know a lot of times men, we have issues too, but a lot of times ours come out in different ways. But what you guys do, y'all have to raise children, y'all have to still maintain a living, work, and do whatever you have to do, even with your issues. So that's why the marijuana comes in, the alcohol comes in to try to function. Yeah. To try to numb everything and try to function, but it's illegal. And so then you get caught. Now you got to deal with your numbing factor and the issues now, because once you can't do it anymore, the drugs, or you got to get tested. Now your issues surface. And now, and I think that's when I met you, when your issues were surfacing. Yes, exactly. And the depression and everything was was happening. It was causing you some serious problems. Yes. But you weathered the storm. You maintained, you hung in there, you cried, and you nursed your wounds, and you got up and you moved forward. And things started happening, because I'll never forget, you couldn't get a place, you couldn't get here, you couldn't get a place to stay. Things was happening. I think you even stayed in the shelter for a while with you and your children. Yes. So how long were you there?
A matter of months.
Okay. And how was that experience? Because people don't, looking at you now, it's like, here you are, college graduate, getting ready to go to a master's. People need to know you had to go through all of that.
It was humbling for me. Even after drug court, I went through a phase of being unsure. Once I graduated drug court and I was done, I didn't have to report, I didn't have to drug test, I didn't have to do anything. That made me feel like I was on a roller coaster, because I didn't have nothing for 2 years and 4 months, I had drug court to hold on to.
Right, you had structure.
Yeah, and once I was released, I felt almost like I had lost everything in my life, because I was so used to that structure. So that took me through some changes, just leaving and not having that to rely on. And it's an ongoing thing. The shelter definitely kept me humbled. Good. It has humbled me a whole lot. I was grateful for that experience as well, because it definitely humbled me a lot. But it's a process. It's an ongoing process within yourself. Wow. It's nothing that's going to stop. You have to continue to keep pushing and keep wanting and keep knowing that as long as you do the best that you can, that you are going to succeed.
Right.
And at the same time, not get overwhelmed. And there's a lot of factors that fall into
That is so good what you
that.
just said, not to get overwhelmed. Because sometimes when you see the road that you have to take, it can seem awful big. But when you take it a day at a time, you can do a day.
Yes, you have to stay. You have to stay focused on that day.
Yeah.
Because when you start, I have a bad habit of thinking about next year or next month.
Most people do.
You know, it was hard for me to take it a day at a time. But that's the best advice you can get is to take it a day at a time, because that one day you can deal with tomorrow. Or you can deal with next week.
Right.
You know, because those thoughts are what kind of overwhelms you in general.
Yes.
It's just trying to fix everything months or years down the line.
Right, and you can only live in one day. And here you are with all the things that you've gone through. Because there are going to be people watching this program. Some of them can get them in McCracken County Jail. Some of them can get them all over the world because they're going to be on the internet. And there are women they are right now where you used to be. They're out there feeling like there is no hope with a man that they know is headed down a downhill path, but you can't get out of it, and afraid of what their future holds. Okay, because here you are. How many children do you have?
4.
Okay, you have 4 children. You've been a single mom for
all my life.
All your life. You didn't let that be an excuse.
No.
For you.
No.
You know, you wanted to make something of yourself despite where you came from.
Yes.
And this is the mindset that women are going to have, because unfortunately we as men have let y'all down quite a bit. You know, and I don't mind saying that. You know, we've let y'all down quite a bit. And if you don't have the initiative within yourself to take responsibility of your life and your future, and you can't count on us, and that's awful. I hate to say that as a man, but that's awful, because you can't count on us to be there for you, which we should be, but you can't. And you have shown what can be done if you put your mind to it. You took a bad situation, being on drugs, selling drugs, going to jail, drug court, going to the shelter, and now here you are graduating college, and now going back to get your master's, and who knows what the future holds for you. And you are a prime example of what can happen. You are one of the forgotten third that nobody hears about, but everybody's going to hear about it now, because here you are. And I'm so proud of you. I really don't really know, because I know where you were. You know, I know the kind of condition you were in when you came to Christ Temple. And that's another thing. What would you say to people about staying connected to God some kind of way? How would you describe that as your maybe some kind of way that kind of helped you to even be where you are?
I'm gonna say there's nothing better than staying connected to God. There's nothing that can happen in your life without. You can have whatever in your life. You can be dealing with whatever. I would say let go and just let God do everything. That's the only reason why I have made it to this point today in my life, is through God. I as a little girl, going through what I went through as a child, at 15 years old, I was in church every Sunday without my mother telling me to go to church. I always had God with me, regardless of what path I was going down. He always had a hand over me, and I know only through Him I'm sitting here today. That's the only way, and I'm for sure of that.
Wow. And the thing about it, you know, and I have to say, because I've been out of prison since 1987, and I have to say that's the only thing that has kept me moving in a positive direction. But just like you, we still have to make choices every day to stay on that path. You know, like you said earlier, you know, it's a process.
Yeah.
And the process is an ongoing process, because I'm faced every day with the opportunities to go backwards. Every day. If I choose to take those opportunities, then I can go backwards. But every day I choose to make the right choice. And I know that's what you have to do every day, even with your college degree, even with you pursuing your master's, you still are confronted with what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you feel good, you feel accomplished, you feel like you've made it to a certain level that you didn't think you were going to make it. Then it's calls for celebration. Let's celebrate. But then, how are you going to do it? What are you going to do? Are you going to go backwards to celebrate, or are you going to just celebrate the right way, or are you just going to grab hold to the next process and move forward? I think what you're doing is all you see is positive forward movement, and that's why you are moving forward. And I think every woman in the McCracken County Jail needs to hear your story, because you are a progress report, and the drug court needs to hear your story. I don't know if you I think I talked to somebody one time and they said they wanted to go back. It might have been you. They said they wanted to go back and just thank some people or something like that.
Yes, it was me.
Okay.
And mainly Judge Hollowell. The first judge that we had when I entered drug court was Clymer.
Okay.
That's when I ended up coming to Christ Temple and getting associated with you all. In my opinion, he was more closed-minded to the fact of addiction, and coming from a childhood or coming from a family that has been addiction, that has been drug dealers. There's never been too much positivity within. And I feel like he was very closed-minded. When Hollowell took over, I felt like he was a little bit more open.
Okay.
You know, he didn't just see the outside of it. He tried to sit down and get to know the participants for themselves, where they came from, what their main issues were. He actually really, and a lot of people don't get to see that side of Hollowell.
I didn't never see that side.
He's sitting behind the desk, but within drug court, he really, he gave more of a personal type level to us, you know, and when he came in, he kind of opened doors for, I feel like for me, to get a little bit more comfortable in what I was doing, to where I could succeed and really work the program, not just be here and regretting being here. You know, I really could sit back and work the program and work through the problems that I really had. So, and like I said, the counseling was amazing.
Man.
I mean, it really helped me.
And,
you know.
and here you are today. And this is just amazing. And our time is up. Believe it or not, our time is up, and I want to thank you so very much. God bless you so much for being here, and I just pray that you have more success, and I'll be keeping up with you. You take care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching Life After Lockup. I hope you enjoyed the program, and don't forget to watch the next Life After Lockup program, and you have a marvelous day.